about power and privilege. Let's start with power. Power is when you have the ability to influence other people or to make decisions that impact the lives of other people. Think of the people who have power in your workplace, your boss's boss, and so on. The decisions they make will have a big impact on your life. This is an example of positional power, meaning it comes from their position within the organization. If they were to quit or to move to another organization, they would no longer have this power. However, they may still have social power. Social power comes from the different social categories you belong to, your race, your gender, your size, your sexual orientation, and so on. White people, for example, carry social power because of white supremacy. Men carry social power because of misogyny. Thin people carry social power because of fat phobia, and heterosexual people carry social power because of homophobia. Privilege refers to the special rights or advantages that come with social power. So, rights or advantages you may or may not have access to because of the social categories you belong to. People that belong to more powerful social categories will inevitably experience more privilege. White people will experience more privilege than racialized people. Men will experience more privilege than women. Thin people will experience more privilege than fat people. And heterosexual people will experience more privilege than queer people. It is important to note that privilege is not earned. You do not have to do anything in order to experience white privilege, for example. All you have to do is be white. Similarly, you do not have to do anything to experience straight privilege, also called heterosexual privilege. All you have to do is be heterosexual. And this is not to say that white people or heterosexual people should not have access to these privileges. The reality is that the term privilege describes things that everyone should have access to. Your queer colleagues, like your straight colleagues, should be able to talk about their romantic relationships without others passing judgment. And your Black and brown colleagues should be able to excel without being seen as a credit to their race. While some kinds of power and privilege are obvious, the other power and privilege that comes with being someone's boss, or other kinds, like power and privilege that comes with being thin, are not as obvious. They often seem normal or natural, meaning we generally do not think to question them. This is actually a big part of how power and privilege work. They are made to seem normal and natural, as if this is the way things are supposed to be. But imagine power and privilege were not made to seem normal or natural. What do you think people would have to say about the power imbalances in our world today? About the unequal distribution of privilege and power? Conversations around power and privilege should not be about shaming or blaming. No one is at fault here. You and I did not make the world the way it is today. We are not responsible for the power imbalances. We are, however, responsible for minimizing the amount of harm we commit. Each of us has a responsibility to learn about the different kinds of power and privilege we carry. We need to become aware of these things to make sure we are not abusing our power or unknowingly contributing to the oppression of other groups of people. Having a strong understanding of your own power and privilege also allows you to use it for good, that is, for the good of society. If you would like to learn more about using your privilege for good, and if you want to learn more about power and privilege, check out the PDF included in this lesson. It has a ton of resources for further learning and a bunch of great questions for self-reflection. If you do anything after watching this video, I hope it's self-reflection. Before we go, though, let's talk a little bit about the 3 Jedi Hub lenses: disability, indigeneity, and racialized newcomer status. The people in a given social category are not all going to experience power and privilege in the same way. Consider, for instance, persons with disabilities. Some disabilities are more stigmatized than others. Just think of the way people with Down syndrome are generally treated in comparison to the way people with ADHD are treated. Now think about Indigenous persons and racialized newcomers. Individuals with lighter skin often experience privilege or power, right? This is because of colorism, a term I encourage you to look up after you watch this video. The point I'm trying to make is that different people experience power and privilege differently, even people who are both Indigenous or both have a disability. I encourage you to do a little bit of self-reflection and think more about this later on. Take one of the social categories you belong to, say race, and consider how you are more or less privileged than other people in that category. How do things like gender, sexuality, and disability affect the power you have relative to the other people in the same racial category? Again, the PDF in this lesson includes a bunch of other self-reflection questions and is a great place to start. This now brings us to the end of lesson 2. Thanks for watching.